Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, all the way from down under Brisbane, Australia. You've got David Nair again on show. Ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure today to introduce you, the guest speaker all the way from South Africa. But before I do that, I would like to welcome audiences from across the globe, wherever you are, South Africa, India, Northern Europe, Southeast Asia, and Australia. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the cold autumn weather here in South Australia, I should say. Ladies and gentlemen, we have as guest speaker today, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. Anda is all the way from South Africa, Cape Town. International speaker and author, a philanthropist, future life designer coach, and mentor for Grief to Get Gratitude Mastermind. She's also the founder of Angels Party for Cancer for Kids. And obviously, last but not least, the co-founder of Fire to Wire in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anda on stage.
David, thank you so much for that warm welcome. It's my privilege to be here and to be spending this time with you this afternoon.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to run an event here today, which is going to go through a number of series, ladies and gentlemen. And what we've got is a Q&A session on how we got to where we are with this particular segment. And why I'm saying that is because this is going to be running for about 6 months, not this series per se, but different sections of it as we lead up to the launch of our book called The Purpose Matrix. So without much further ado, let me just pass the baton on to Anda, and then she can start some Q&A sessions with me, and I will do the same thing with Anda on the journey of what MRM was all about and how did Fire to Wire come to existence. That's the key element here. Thank you so much, Anda.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me a minute just to introduce Mr. David Nair to you. David is one of the architects of modern personal growth. He has a rare ability of electrifying an audience and yet simply deliver fundamentals for change that would step up your individual and team performances many folds over. For 30 years, David has been involved with the most premier companies in India, helping to empower people, coaches, mentoring, and their senior managers, VPs, and CEOs. David's definite major purpose in life is to create a mindset shift, a heart set shift, and a soul set shift in 1 million people, thereby contributing to a better world for all of us and for generations to come. So, David, please tell us, Fire to Wire, how did that start? Why was there a need? What was your journey?
Um, well, very, very, very simply put, I originally went to India for one sole purpose, was to do some changes in different types of setups for different organizations, for NGOs, for community services. Now, I've never been to India before, though I'm an Indian. And one of the key things that came out of this whole exercise was when I went through there, I knew nobody. I had to start from grassroots. And one of the elements that I worked on was Rotary clubs. And I started doing a lot of talks in Rotary clubs. And I found people were very spiritual in India, more than anywhere else that I've come across. My origins, though parents are from India, I was born in Malaysia. I grew up in Australia, so that was quite a distinguishing factor for me to look at. Why is there such a disconnect between the Indians in other countries and the Indians here in India, so to speak? I started working with Rotary. I moved on to doing coaching and training in organizations, corporate, and I had probably to the extent of 50 of our top corporates, the likes of Infosys, Yves Saint Laurent, all your foreign companies that are named there, you name it, banking, IT, pharma companies. And I used to coach and mentor the middle management and senior management. What I was finding is as I did that, the productivity was there, but it was very robotic. It just didn't come across as though they're giving their 200%, so to speak. All right. Then I looked at what was the element that is going to trigger this. And I tell you what, the turning point for me was when I started working with people underlying certain spiritual slash universal laws, I call it, the likes of getting to know themselves better, not just going, putting a goal and saying that's what I want, as opposed to turning around and working with the inner self, trying to drill out what their performance is going to be like, where they're going in life, why are they doing this. So the inner factor came into play. And as I deep dwelled into it, and I had a lot of coaches who helped me with this, and to be very frank, I had 14 coaches to get me to where I am. So one of the key persons was John Grinder. And I used to work with John in not just learning from him as an intern, but more importantly, working with him on some of the platforms that he actually showcased this. And I found the knowledge of subconscious mind, the knowledge of universal laws played a significant role in a person's development. And that's when the whole paradigm shift took place for me. In 2004, when I was asked to do work with a IT company, I deep dived into it and not just did goal setting programs, emotional intelligence programs, the normal off the shelf package programs. I started looking at how I can intrinsically bring this into the fold for them. And my God, the transformation was dynamic, and the productivity scaled up even higher. So I began to question myself again, going through introspection. And so started the journey of what I called, in those days, we didn't call it fire to wire, we called it me time. And from 2004 right up to about 2016, we were running the sessions as me time for all of the companies. Whenever I went into a company, we used to set up groups. And in those days, I'm not sure if people are aware out there was no such thing as Zoom calls. There was no such thing as WhatsApp. And so what we used to do is put through email groups, and create these in groups through email encounters, interactions. We built organizations. And the me time was centered around an individual, covering a number of modalities, which are close aligned to what we're doing currently, a bit distant in other areas, but close aligned, I should say. But we then fine-tuned it in 2018. And today we have 3 years of Fire to Wire in this amazing. You know it. You're one of the students from that, and you can see the outcome from it. So that's why we started with, and
Okay, so during this time from 2004 to 2018, and you've scaled up your modalities, you scaled up the method in which you run Fire to Wire now. Can you tell us about some instances, some scenarios that stood out for you during that time?
oh my God, for sure, for sure. Just to give you simple, I'll throw a couple on hand. The first thing was we one of my divisions in the training organization. I had about 12 different trainers and coaches in various aspects of coaching and mentoring, ranging from voice and accent right through to emotional intelligence and women empowerment programs, etc. So one of the elements that I covered in that segment was this cross culture sensitization, because a lot of the companies from outside of India were operating here in different cities, and they were finding there's a huge disconnect between the employees in India and their counterparts in the foreign country. So we used to conduct a cross culture program for them, and at the same time brought up their EQ levels up so they can communicate effectively with their counterparts in the other countries, Northern Europe, America, South Africa, China, places like that, in Korea. Now, out of all of that, one thing that stood out was when the new interns came in, they were very green between the years, and they always were concerned, how are they going to perform, what are they going to do? And some companies had so much of trust in what we were doing that they do the selection, the recruitment, and then unless they go through our so-called internship program, which in some cases ran for 6 months, they were not selected on board. Okay, so here's an example. One lady came across from a regional city of South India, and obviously one of the key things there is that as they get selected, they go into this situation of giving a treat for their friends. So four of the girls, including this girl, walked into a five-star restaurant, and as soon as they walk in, you know how sometimes you get this feeling inside, feeling that, oh my God, this place is not for me. I'm going to feel so uncomfortable. That type of thoughts were going through them. And this girl just immediately walked out. And I like to use this word in Tamil because I hope it makes an impact, especially to my southern friends. Number mari aal inge saapida mudiyadu, meaning our type of people can't eat in this restaurant, was her comment. And she walked out. She walked out. Now, watch this. Little did she know, the next week she was being put into this intern program for which my trainers and I would be there running various segments of it for them. That lass went to the program, finished it, built enough confidence, and then went back to this restaurant with 4 of her friends and sat down and ate. It might sound a very small thing for a lot of people. 6 years later, in about 2009, 2010, I received an email from this lass. By then, she had obviously been promoted up a number of echelons, and she was working in Northern Europe as a senior manager. Today, she's a vice president of that helicopter division there, by the way. At that time, she was a senior manager. And she sent me this mail saying, David, I don't know if you recall me, but I'm the lass who walked out of that restaurant. I want to tell you, what was the critical turning point? And I said, please, because, these are testimonials for me. And she said, something? I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so uncomfortable that I had to get out. And then when I realized how foolish I was, I turned it around. And this is what happened. When I came to your program, there was so much provided to us in that program. It was knowledge filled. But one key thing that changed it for me, it was you teaching us dining etiquette, the use of the knife and fork, and the breaking of the bread rather than the slicing of the bread. And I thought to myself, my God, imagine, something as distant as that could create a paradigm shift in a person. So I investigated further, and this is exactly right. She said that gave me enough confidence and courage to take my friends who had not been to the restaurant, to take them there. And when we went there, we had such a wonderful time. I've always used that as an anchor to step up. Imagine that, Anda. And I thought to myself, how small we think it is, but how great it is to a person who has got self-belief factor, who has got lack of confidence. All of these things can actually have an implication if you're anchored on certain good value principles. And today, that was the turning point to become a senior manager. And today, as vice president for that helicopter division, she's doing fine. All because of learning how to use a knife and fork.
Incredible. But David does not only teach us those kind of skills. There's a lot of skills that he imparts on us. One of the big things that David works with a lot is moving from the amygdala to the frontal cortex. So he's constantly teaching us this move. Why don't you tell us about that, David?
Oh my God. We are all primitive cavemen. Basically, that's what we are. We are hunters. If you think about it, guys, back, many moons ago, hundreds of thousands of years back, 60 billion years, so to speak, Earth was in existence, a Milky Way was started. Now, following that, here we are under a cave, and that's how we were living as cavemen. And so what had happened was this thing that's called at the back here, the amygdala. Now, that is your primitive brain. That has got so big, in some cases, it thinks its ego is up there, that it controls you. And it does control everybody. It controls us to such an extent that we are so fearful of doing things. The fear-fight syndrome comes from that. And what we got to now understand is, if we can find modalities, if we can find patterns, if we can find exercises to turn that, to tweak that, and to make that paradigm shift in there, you move from there to here, and man, you're putting action in. When you put action in your frontal cortex, there's traction. And when there's traction, you're running. You're with juice. You're what I call with speed, and you're flying with Earth. And that's the power of this thing. But how do you do it? The process, you got to come through to Fire to Wire and have a look at
it. That's very true. That's very true. And we have seen in Fire to Wire how people make mind shifts when they actually realize that they need to move from the amygdala to the frontal cortex. In those days when you started off, David, what was your focus point with Fire to Wire or Me Time?
Very honestly, my main focus was on the other programs. And I had a whole paradigm shift from about 2018. Though they were in other programs, I was still building people, but the fundamental layout of that was the foundation was built on solid grounds, such as certain modalities, I call it step down, step up, understanding affirmations, understanding very well your breathing exercises, getting to know yourself. And then over the years, I got to know a lot more of myself, and I got to make sure that people understood that. Only when you know yourself can you know anybody else. Only when you love yourself can you love anybody else. That's the bottom line of life. Now, when we have all of these modalities put together, when we understand the process, see, everything is process driven. The AI thought it's taken it over. We had the AI well before AI came into place. And I'm talking about the AI, us within us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's the key element. When you understand how to play with this, the game of life is so simple. Many make it a huge, overwhelming exercise. It's not. It's as simple as ABC. And what we got to understand is how do you put the jigsaw together? What are some of the patterns you do? And what are you using to flow with it? And I always tell the story, and you've heard me tell this thousands of times, Enda. You are like water. Flow with water. Let the water seamlessly go through boulders. It bypasses it, it goes over it. Just flow in the same manner that water flows. Now, for that to happen, only when the inside is unshackled, all the rubbish has been moved out, and you have got a crystal clear connect between you and that thing called the universe out there, the creator, the God, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it's the universe. Now, when you look at that, and when you put the two together, there is going to be a sync. And I call it the synchronity between your body, your mind, and your spirit. They're three tripod. And when you have that sync together, whatever you do, whatever you try to do, move, and shift in yourself or outside happens. And why does it happen? Because you are like water. There is no resistance that's going to hold you back. You have broken the barrier of fear. You've broken the barrier of confidence. You've broken the barrier of anything that's going to hold you back. And that's the power in us. And so when I talk about fire to wire, how we started fire to wire in India, that's another exercise too. Just like what we did in Chennai in 2004. This whole exercise stem, and that's how coincidental things are. And many people say, "Oh, it's amazing how coincidence works." I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in a thing called luck, and I spell luck this way. I don't know how you spell luck. Luck is Luck, labor under correct knowledge. We make our luck, ladies and gentlemen out there. We make our luck by doing the right things. It's like you fitting a jigsaw together. Remember when you look at a jigsaw, the cover of the jigsaw is normally shows the picture that you're going to unravel in that jigsaw puzzle. So when you know your life picture very well, the journey through life is going to be simple, beautiful. But if you don't know that, you're going to have hurdles and struggles. And that's what many people are doing, unfortunately, because they're not spending enough time just sitting in silence. Think, breathe, and go through in silence. And you see the difference that comes out of that. So that whole transformation took place for me. And
I know. And I've been extremely privileged to go through that same transformation with you and with some other people on our platform. But
yeah,
how many people did you start off with in 2005, 2004? And
the first batch
what
was
does
24.
fire? Wow.
24. 24. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what happens is the organizations, they to maximize on their pay to me, the charge out, they put as many people as possible. So I capped it by saying there can only be 24, because it's an even number and I can break them out into groups and play around with them or do and stuff like that. So 24 was a number. Yeah.
And what does fire to wire look like today?
Oh. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The people are great. The people are wonderful. And I love going to India, and I love the biryani that they serve. That's fantastic too. And especially when it's far away people who come in and say, you got the biryani, we've got this, what do you call that? The Hyderabadian biryani. And then someone opens his mouth and say, we've got the Anda biryani. And that's when the whole thing opens up and explodes. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Oh my God, we have so much fun on Fire to Wire and MRM. But I'm going to be telling you my story very shortly of how I became involved in MRM and Fire to Wire. David,
Yeah.
just final words from your side on MRM and Fire to Wire?
Yeah, very true. I want to pass on the baton for me to start questioning Ander on this, because we've got to deep dive into Ander's story. It's vital for everyone to see and hear that. My final take on Fire to Wire is very simple. Ladies and gentlemen out there, one advice that my father gave me when I left India at 14 years old, he kicked me out of home. If you read my story, you'll know. He kicked me out of home. That's my father. Anyway, he was a great gentleman. He kicked me out of home at 14, and he said this to me: Mohan, read, read, read. And I said, what? And as I was getting on the plane, he gave me a book about that thick, 2.5, 3 inches thick. And he said to me, read. And I looked at him. You know what a 14-year-old kid would do? He said, Dad, you want me to read this? And he said, yes. And I said, Dad. He said, read. I took it in the plane. I wasn't just reading, I was just skimming through pages. And I found one line that really triggered, and it always sunk in me. This is the memoirs of Aristotle Onassis. I don't know if many people know of him. The younger generation might not, but the boomers would. Aristotle Onassis came from a fishing village. He's a Greek shipping magnate, and he built his wealth in the tanker movement of oil during the Second World War. He's the one that married Jacqueline Kennedy, the President Kennedy's wife. Now, Aristotle made this comment there, a little line, and he said, he was asked a question: what would you do if you had your life all over again? And Aristotle leaned back on his chair. This was in a restaurant. And he said, I will go and wait at tables where successful people met. Now, many people might think and read it and move along. And I deep dived into it. I wanted to know, why was it so important? And what is the significance of successful people? And that opened me up into Master Key to Riches and a lot of the other books. But one of the things that came out of that was, what happens in this meeting? A lot of breadcrumbs fall from the table. And those breadcrumbs are pure nuggets of gold in information when you network with people and talk with people at breakfast, at morning tea, at lunch, at dinner. And that was how I built my network of circle of people and all of that. So people need to understand that continuous education in dealing with people, in interacting with people, that's your hub. And I always have this philosophy, CANI, continuous and never ending improvement is what you need. The day you stop reading is the day you die. Bottom line.
Thank you so much, David. Ladies and
Fabulous.
gentlemen, as you can see, David is extremely passionate, not just about Fire to Wire and MRM, but about people and making them be better than what they are, helping them to discover their true potential and to make that step up in life. Thank you so much, David.
Pleasure, and a privilege. And I'm going to throw the ball onto you to start sharing. And I would like you to share your story of what you did prior to meeting up with us and joining Fire to Wire. Where were you? What were you doing? What was the significant purpose of your life then? Things like that. Just share with us, please.
Oh my God. I was bored one day and I entered a training program. And a year later, somebody that took in that training program with me phoned me and said, you need to join David Nair's program immediately. I didn't even know who David Nair was at the time. But anyway, I made the decision to join his program. And ladies and gentlemen, I have not looked back since. My life has changed dramatically. But let me tell you, when I joined David's MRM program, I thought I had a really good life. I had a good husband, I still do. I have good children, I have a nice home, I have a good job, stable career. My life was ticking on very well. I was in a comfort zone. And then David, in that very first meeting, said to me, oh, Anda, what is your North Star? And I looked at him astonished and I thought, what are you talking about? And then I realized in that moment that there's something significantly missing in my life. Luckily, I wasn't alone feeling like that in that session because there were some other people with me in the same boat. And what happened in MRM, because of the practices and the pushing from David's side, we started pushing each other to get out of our comfort zones and to embrace new challenges. So David then introduced us to Fire to Wire India. But you see, for me to attend Fire to Wire in India, I had to get up at 1:30 in the morning. And then when they finished at 2:30 South African time, I have to go back to bed. But in India, 2:30 is 6 o'clock in the morning. So they can all go to work and to gym and do whatever it is that they need to do. So after a month of Fire to Wire in India, I was so tired. And I said to David, please, can we get a facilitator to do Fire to Wire at a more convenient time for South Africa, for the Saudi Arabia members, and we had members from Nigeria at the time. So, short story, I became the co-founder of Fire to Wire, and we were only supposed to run for 90 days. We are now 16 months old, and Fire to Wire South Africa was born on the 5th of December, which is the anniversary date of my mom and dad. So
Oh,
I'm extremely privileged that it was started
oh,
on that day.
right.
So let me tell you a little bit about Fire to Wire. David was very excited, but in Fire to Wire, we practice different modalities and challenges. And, in the beginning and still today, I am so hungry for everything that David shares with us that, believe it or not, get up at 1:30 in the morning to attend Fire to Wire India, and then I go back to sleep for about an hour and a half, and then I get up at 5:15 to run South Africa Fire to Wire. And during my time working with David, participating in MRM, being in Fire to Wire, magic happened in my life. And David has mentioned synchronicities. Everything from that moment I decided to join David's MRM program, so many synchronicities has happened in my life. And I get up every morning because I'm so scared I'm going to miss something. So I'm extremely excited about this year that is lying ahead of me. Last year was a significant, fabulous year. Um, David made us write down our goals at the end of 2022. And I remember sending it to him, and all I got back was this confused looking emoji saying, "What's this? Do it again." So I had to do that again. And at the end of 2023, I looked back at my goals after I surrendered it into the universe with my vision board. And I have achieved, I think, 29 or 30 out of the 40 goals that I have written down for David at the time. So if you wonder whether MRM and Fire to Wire is going to move you in a direction to set goals, to achieve those goals, ladies and gentlemen, trust me, it does. You know why? Because we learn to live in gratitude, but we build our mental resilience. And doing that, we need to unlearn a lot of behaviors that we have learned, um, and the patterns in our lives. And that's where this little amygdala comes in, where we have to move from our monkey brain to our prefrontal cortex. David has explained to you how the monkey brain controls your emotions and how fight and flight comes into reason. But when you function from your frontal cortex perspective, you have more clarity about your decisions. You have more control over your emotions, and your thinking processes are so much clearer. Now, suddenly, you are in control of your rational thinking mind. It is important that we find a balance between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. And that is why when we sit in Fire to Wire and we practice sitting in silence, we practice our deep breathing while we sit comfortably, while we are relaxed, while we do our meditation. This helps us. And because it's at 5 o'clock in the morning, when you wake up, you have cortisol or stress hormones that have built up in your body. So doing your meditation, doing your breathing helps you to move from your delta state to your theta state. And then, of course, we do the visualization of how we achieve our affirmations that we write up for ourselves. And doing this increases your productivity for the day. And even people like Oprah does this, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I remember, when MRM started, how my life has changed so dramatically that my husband one morning said to me, "Where is my wife and what did David do with her?" So I get up to practice every day. And at the end of the day, I get to reflect on my day, which is part of the process. We look at what happened during the day and we analyze our behavior and responses to certain situations so that we can learn from them, change it, and become better. And then the next day, when we wake up, we reflect on our day because we've already set our intentions for that day. Let me tell you a secret. David has made me written up my year plan from January to April, day by day, on a calendar. I've never done that before. But I tell you the value of that because now when I look at my calendar, everybody in the household knows what happens. And suddenly my husband is writing down his golf games and he's writing down his motorbike trips, and the girls are writing down their stuff. And we are all on the same page. But having written it down teaches you to commit to things, but it also disciplines you to make sure that you keep to what you have written down on your calendar. So when it's my blogging day on a Monday, on a Sunday, I write my blog and I know it's done for the week. So where previously I may have written a blog once a month or once every 6 months, I now write a blog once a week. And this is what MRM and Fire to Wire does for you. Fire to Wire runs on 3 disciplines: faith, commitment, and discipline. And we have a little tagline that goes like this: faith, commitment, and discipline fires the wires within. Because practicing our MRM and Fire to Wire modalities helps you not only just to build your mental resilience, but it helps you to improve and grow your neuroplasticity. So that's incredibly important. When I started Fire to Wire as the person that had to present every morning, it took me 3 hours to prepare every single day for Fire to Wire. Because David said, you need to have a song with wind chimes, with birds, with water flowing. And I would look for music to fit that script. And every single day, it took me about an hour. Then I had to go and sit and think, what topic are we going to talk about tomorrow? And then I need to find material and research it and then write it up. And I remember one morning in January, a month after we started Fire to Wire, we were busy with our meditation and I just burst into tears and I cried because I thought, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. This is too much. I, I, I need to, I can't, I can't. And then when the music stopped, I had a choice. I could have then said, listen, I'm sorry, David. And in those days, he still used to sit in Fire to Wire South Africa. I could have said to him, I'm sorry, David, I can't do this. Or I could have wiped my tears, grabbed my mental resilience that I've been working on for the last month and 2 months, and present my topic that I worked so hard to prepare. And guess what? I'm still there. I'm still presenting. And where we had 10 members when we started, we now have 24 members that comes to listen to my talk every single morning. What an incredibly privileged opportunity for me every day to make a difference to other people's lives. So, Fire to Wire and Mental Resilience Mastery Mastermind has really, really changed my life. It has become such a strong platform for me that I anchor on, that I look forward to every single day, that I jump out of bed every morning. Um, and having Fire to Wire South Africa for the last 16 months, we have built a platform to become such a safety net where people can be vulnerable without the fear of being judged. And remember, I said we were supposed to run for 90 days. At the end of the 90 days, when I told the participants we are now finished with our 90 days, it was a unanimous decision to say, please don't stop, we must continue. So, MRM, Fire to Wire, MRM builds your mental capacity. The secret? Fire to Wire is the game changer. And it's not just about getting up early in the morning, and it's not just about embracing a mindset of possibilities and taking action to create the life of your dreams and to your desire to drive your personal growth. Robin Sharma said, 5 a.m. is the time of least distraction, highest human glory, and greatest peace. And here, where I sit, out of my window, I get to watch the sun rise every single morning. So every morning, I witness the beautiful golden glow that comes up when the sun is rising, and then it changes into pink. And it just reminds me the glory of God, how magnificent this universe is that we are all part of, and that I can go out and sprinkle magic fairy dust wherever I go during the day. In Firewire and MRM, David is constantly pushing us to read, constantly. But this again helps with our self development. And this again create a culture of continuous learning. And we make the most incredible friends globally, and we work with each other. So I have these beautiful, beautiful people that I'm so privileged to have watched grow and develop and come into their own on Fire to Wire. People who, before joining Fire to Wire, were so insecure, so scared to stand up for themselves, so scared to talk. But today they are strong people. They can stand up for themselves. They can speak for themselves. They have found courage and they go out into the world and they make a difference to people's lives. Their families are committing and commenting and saying, what happened to you? We want to be like you. So, Fire to Wire, MRM, if you want to change your life, please join us.
Right, right, right. Thank you. The nuts of it all, when you think about it, and I'm going to ask this question of Anda, what's the most significant gift that you were given when you came to this planet?
Your breath. Your breath is your most
Bottom line.
significant gift in life.
The bottom line. Now, many don't realize that when we say the breath, my point now is my throwback, not just to you, Anda, but to the public out there. If the breath was the most significant thing given to you, because without that you don't exist, bottom line. If that's the most significant thing given to you, don't you think there is something you can do with it? If you're doing something at an average rate, for example, whether it's doing a spreadsheet, whether it's digging a hole, whether it's cooking a dish, doesn't matter, and you do it in a mediocre style, and you put that as a gift on a tray and offer it up to the creator, that God, the universe, he's not going to complain, he's going to take it.
Mm.
And he's going to say thank you. Now, if you just did 0.5% extra effort by either stirring the dish differently or digging the hole differently or just giving your passion into that task, and you put that on a plate, a tray, and offered it to him, Which of the two trays do you think he would take preference to?
Mm.
Two or one? So the point I make to everybody out there is, why don't you think of this? Whatever activity you do, this is a gem for you to take away today. Whatever activity you do, give your all in it. Give your 200% in it. And that's what everybody out there is calling live your moment, live your moment, live your moment. Just do this. Put 200% effort in it. Don't give a mediocre job and put that on a tray and offer it back. That's your gift back for the breath of life that you have for the rest of your life. That's the bottom line, guys. Think that way. We operate differently. And when we operate differently, our productivity goes up. When our productivity goes up, moolah, the money comes in. And then we say, wow, I'm lucky. So that's the bottom line. Okay, that's the bottom line. Life is easy. Now, all of this work that we are doing, I want everyone out there to sort of get a feel for it. And where are we charging exorbitantly for this, or is this a semi-complimentary type of a? It's just a
No,
nominal fee. Is it?
we have now this year instituted a nominal fee. But before I get to the fee sides, I want to tell you about what it is that we do contributory to
Yes.
MRM and Fire to Wire. Okay.
Yeah.
There are two charities in India that we sponsor. And the way that we sponsor that is by selling our books that we have co authored, Grail and Grail 2.0 Tick Your Life Right with Purpose. Now, Grail 2.0 was co authored by 40 authors across 3 continents. And our next book that is coming out is called The Purpose Matrix, A Journey to a Fulfilled Life. These books will help you not only find your purpose, but if you're struggling with any problem in life, you will find an answer on how to overcome that traumatic experience or that adversity that you're being challenged with in life. So you can contribute to our charities by ordering our books. Now, let me tell you about our two charities. There's one in Gurugam in Delhi, Earth Saviors Foundation, that was started in 2008. And this particular NPO is looking after elderly people and house about 1,000 people in their 2 villages. They also take care of the handicapped and they feed these people every single day with food that is cooked in a communal kitchen. So just think about the difference that you could make to those people's lives. The second charity is called Ment Aid in Kolkata. And David and I had the privilege to go and visit this beautiful institution that was started by a mother who had a son that was born mentally challenged. And today, she not only looks after children, she also looks after adults who suffers from mental disability. The people are divided into different classes for educational purposes. They teach them to dance, they teach them yoga, they teach them hand skills, they even cook for each other in the kitchen with the vegetables that are grown on the property. So again, think about the difference you can make to these people. Now, to recap on Fire to Wire and MRM, who is it for again? Anybody who wants to make a difference to their lives. Doesn't matter whether you're a school teacher, a housewife, a lawyer, or a doctor. You can improve your mental resilience by joining a group of like minded people globally, and you can improve your professional and personal growth. What happens in our weekly meetings? Apart from David taking the mickey out of us every now and then, we actively engage in insightful discussions, we share our experiences, and we benefit from mutual support and wisdom from all the professionals who are on this platform. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world because we have virtual meetings via Zoom, so you can join in anytime. Fire to Wire, my love, is there to help you build your mindfulness, with the intention of setting your priorities for the day so that your day is filled with focus and clarity and productivity. Now let us get to the cost. Okay. In Fire to Wire and MRM, you get the opportunity to build your mental resilience, but you get the opportunity to become an author in our books. And we have an uh, anthology of purpose books. That word, okay.
Anthology of purpose. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you so much. But you are also exposed to skills training. And in every batch, David brings in a professional podcaster that helps us with our podcasting training, a professional blogger that helps us with our blogging training. We are now doing training of speakers, ladies and gentlemen. So you will not only find your definite purpose in life because there's an opportunity to attend our purpose drive, but you will also be exposed to in excess of 90 different modalities that you can practice in your life that will help you to make this transformation from where you are to where you want to be, to where you see yourself operating at. And the value of all of these things? In excess of 100,000 Indian rupees. Now, I know you know some of the charges of courses out in the market, but Fire to Wire, MRM, asks for a mere contribution of 3,600 rupees as a payment for an annual membership. And if you want to pay it off, you can pay it off at 400 rupees per month for the year. That comes to 4,800 rupees. You will not get better value anywhere than here at Fire to Wire and MRM. David is continuously interactive. He's always available to hold your hand, and you'll have a group of supportive, experienced people from MRM and Fire to Wire that will assist you with anything that you need help with. So if you're still wondering whether you should join us, yes, yes, yes. Just do it. Thank you.
That fee, I might also add to the public, is the fee for the first year.
Yes,
Subsequently, the charge is just 1,000 rupees.
correct.
So I don't know why people would even consider not joining, very honestly. And this is not here for us to promote it. It so happened that the discussion went that way. But in actual fact, we wanted to showcase for people to understand the power of what MRM is, how it can enhance a person's lifestyle and at the same time a family interaction. More than that, it can also give them the full contentment because, as the Dalai Lama very often made this comment, human beings are in pursuit of happiness. I add one thing to that. They're in pursuit of happiness. Through happiness, fulfillment is achieved. And that is what we are in quest for. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing better than looking at MRM for you to just. Here is one huge testimonial of what transformation has happened. There are many others of the same boat. And what I sincerely suggest is have a listen, have a chat with some of the members and see what you can get out of it and do join us. Anda, coming
Yeah.
back to you, what's the plan from now on? You want to just give a little bit of a taste of what's going to happen between now and August?
Very exciting news. We are busy finalizing our book, The Purpose Matrix. We do all the work with regards our books in-house. So we do the editing in-house. We designed a beautiful cover in-house. So we're very excited of this book being put together. Then we're going to launch it. There's a couple of awards that we've got in the eye for this book. So we're very excited about that. And during July, we will be making a road trip through India to promote our book. September, we're coming to South Africa to promote our book. So there's very exciting things, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to be part of this purpose drive this exciting journey in life to become better than what you are today, seriously consider joining us. Yes.
The element, we also forgot one thing in our discussion with the enthusiasm. As part of all of the verticals that we had just spoken about, the book, the speakers club, the fire to wire, there is one element. We also run a 6-week session on getting you to find your purpose in life. And that's an intense program, by the way, for those that are not everybody is joining it to do it, primarily because it has got heavy, intense assignments. It's a quest to deep dive into yourself and unveil a lot of the issues, challenge, belief factors that you've had in the past and that you're carrying with yourself. And shed that, and then you feel yourself easy, because clarity comes when you have that. Direction comes when you have that. Purpose comes when you have that. So that's the whole intent of that. And we run that every quarter. Every Saturday by the quarter when we get new batches in. So it's run every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Or is it 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.? I can't remember.
5 p.m. to 7.
Okay. See, that's why you got great people who run the show, and I just come in and just sit as back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you enough. You know what? If I could choose what I want to do with my life every single day, I would have a retreat where I can bring people to my retreat and just teach them these modalities and make them sit in silence, focusing on their breathing so that they can experience and feel what I feel and go through that transformation that I went through. So really, I cannot tell you enough the value that you will find for yourself when you join Fire to Wire and MRM.
Good. Very good. Fantastic. And thank you. Thank you so much, Anda, for taking time off
Thank you, David.
to come on stage. And we will continue this over a number of months, I should say, bringing in not just you and I, but a few other people to come and have a chat and share their exposure of what has happened to them with MRM. And every so often might even open up a modality or two for the public to have a look at and taste it. They can taste
Maybe
this
we could
biryani.
just give them a little bit of a tasty.
One. Generosity.
There's a modality called NENN.
Oh, yes.
No negativity. And you need to practice that for 90 days. It's really not easy. It is probably one of the most difficult things to do. But when you master that modality, your life changes significantly, because now suddenly you are in control and you stop reacting to situations and you start to respond to situations. And my first try, I got to day 78 and I just lost it completely. And I sent David a mail or WhatsApp crying, saying, "This is what happened and I've broken my NNN and I'm so disappointed." I didn't even get a response. Nothing. So if you think you're going to have somebody standing there with a tissue going, "Oh, shame, my love, that's okay." No, you're not going to get that.
Tough on yourself.
Will you stretch? Will you grow? Will you develop?
Yes.
Absolutely. Will you enjoy it? Yes, 100 times.
Good. Fabulous. I love it. Thank you, Anda. Thank you so much. We've gone overboard on time.
Thank you.
Truly appreciate your time. Say hi to the family. We will connect again. We'll connect at 1 a.m. your time, 9 a.m. my time, 5:15. All right. Thank you. Take care now. Have a wonderful evening. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.